It's good, good, good. All right, so we were expecting more people to show up for this event than we have. It looks like we did get a number of candidates to show up, which is good. But this means it'll be more intimate, more fun. You know, see more attention for the rest of us to have the candidates and have an opportunity to really drill them on the positions. Right? So my name is Aron Ra. I am the director of the Atheist Candidates Project, which is the organization that was working to put this together. What we're doing is crowdsourcing political engagement amongst atheists by connecting folks who are interested in running for public office with volunteers, with professionals who worked in politics before, with previous candidates and current elected officials, so as to remove barriers to entry for atheists wanting to run for public office, by eliminating the need to build that network from the ground up for each campaign. We make running for public office and the potential of winning public office something that's far more accessible to a non-believer. And that's why we're all here, right? So I'd like to give each candidate an opportunity to say a few words about their campaign, tell a little bit about themselves.
We're running in District 5 against Jeff Inserling. It's funded by big banks and insurance companies. The same people that the corrupt people in the Democratic Party that we're trying to get out are funded by.
My name is Woolum, and I'm running for the Texas 12th Congressional District. It's mostly the west side of Kate Ranger's district right now. It's heavily Republican. It's gerrymandered to help her out as much as possible. It's on the west side of Fort Worth, includes Parkland and Wise County.
Hi, so I know some of y'all know me. I'm Danielle Pellet, and I'm running against Pete Sessions for the 32nd District in 2018.
Right, so I'm an atypical candidate, and this is definitely going to be an atypical campaign.
In my campaign, I won't be using any far left or far right campaign issues, mostly centrist and agreeable, progressive things that pretty much everybody wants. And then working on tax structure and civil liberties.
I'm one of you guys. I work hard for a living. I've been through challenges because of the economy. I've seen my neighbors suffer, and like a lot of people that are running now, I decided I need to do something about it. I've carried signs at protests, at the Black Lives Matter rallies. I've been to the airport to stand up for immigration rights and the current wave of immigrants. I've been at the No Doubt protest. I spent days out in West Texas with the Trans-Pecos pipeline and camped out there. I've done a number of things, and I marched at the Women's March in Dallas with my wife and daughters.
So, my history. I was born and raised Catholic. I was born and raised male, and those didn't work for me. So, I am now trans. I strongly support a separation of church and state, and it was Danielle Moran, actually, who was one of the first atheists to run for office here in Texas, that finally made me go, okay, if he can run for office, I can. I know I can do it if I can.
Like many of you, of course, I have concerns about human rights. I believe in nuance. I believe in prejudice. It's one of the things that I just adopted on my own. It wasn't taught to me, but I understand. I recognize the problem with making prejudicial judgments, and I don't believe in people being on either extreme of the spectrum. I tend to think that we're all on a bell curve. We're all pretty close to the middle dividing line. Doesn't divide us by much where most of us are. I also believe that when you elect a religious person to office, very often people will say that the advantage is that they're firm in their beliefs and strong in their convictions. And I have a problem with that because that means that they've already judged your case before they've heard the data.
You give them a pass on everything else.
Well, pretty much, exactly, yes. Okay, so I'm going to be firm in what I can show to be true, but that doesn't mean I'm going to make a judgment before I hear the case. And that's on anything, right? And so now in the district, I'm running for Senate District 2. This is a very rural district. I have very little of the city. I've got the far east of Dallas County. That's Garland. That's a couple of the cities just south of that, Mesquite, and I think Pleasant Grove. But outside of that, I've got very rural counties. I don't include Broward, but it does include Rockville, Van Zandt, Fannin, Delta, and so forth, on up to the Oklahoma border. I could win the vote of every Democrat in all of those counties, and I still wouldn't win the election. I'm going to have the votes of Republicans, the votes of religious people. That there's going to have to be some bridge building there.
You're looking at the first guy in the nation to minor in women's studies. That was at San Diego State in 1975. They were the first department in the nation to open up to offer a women's studies department. And I was the first to offer a minor. I was the first male in the department, the first to complete the minor. So I've got a long history of supporting activism.
As an ex-conservative, I've essentially seen all their arguments, found their flaws with it, and I can destroy them one by one. My conversion was to a New Democrat because of Bernie Sanders in 2002. Essentially, everything I learned in 2000, 2001, yes, I voted for Bush in 2000, my mistake. Everything I learned in 2000, 2001 made me realize where I was with the issues. When we had our troops getting fired, we were Arabic translators as we didn't pay Iraq. As we didn't put that war on the budget, even though we would still be there next year. Fiscal responsibility, government out of the bedroom, and they try to, ban gay marriage as a constitutional amendment. Every last bastion of maybe just a libertarian Republican, it was utterly destroyed for me, and that's why I'm wearing it. Because I decided to question what I was indoctrinated with, I challenged it, and I found a new answer. And it was to essentially have government be a check and balance on corporations so that we the people can actually do well and achieve a decent life.
But as I said, I think using the right judgments is going to help. I'm currently running against Bob Hall, and if I do nothing else in this campaign, I'm going to be swinging these rural Texas districts further to the left.
Yes.
Because the Republican Party already knows what a Tea Party believer Bob Hall is, and what an extreme bigot he is. Prejudice is all about his platform. That's all the thing he's most concerned about is preventing trans people from being able to pee. That's the biggest issue he has. Now, I'm more concerned with jobs. I mean, Texas once upon a time had a reputation for having some of the best universities in the country. We had, we had a space program, right? We can do science.
I'm also a Navy veteran. You can see from the cap. I did 2 tours of Vietnam, boarded a ship called the USS Sterritt. The most notable things I did over there, we saw combat, something called the Battle of Dong Point. You can Google that up. I was also 8 miles off Haiphong Harbor when Nixon mined the harbors as part of the blockade of that harbor. And so I've got skin in the game when it comes to being a veteran and serving in the war. I'm not a draft dodger. Number 45. I'm not a traitor like him. I consider myself very patriotic. That's why I do things like taking a knee, bringing the national anthem for the DeSoto Girls volleyball team. A lot of you may know me from that story. It went viral. I was covered by Sean King. I had my story, photos of what I did were Instagrammed out by T.I. and Big Boy and other hip-hop artists, and over 10 million likes and shares in that event. That was from last September. And if I'm going to throw on a Black Lives Matter shirt and show up as a veteran and take a knee, I have no qualms in standing up for other oppressed people. I'm going to be there for women's rights. I definitely support women's issues. I want the federal government out of our bedrooms. I want you to control your own reproductive rights. If you're a minority, I'm there with you. I mean, you name the issue, and I'm progressive. That's where I stand.
How will you represent the non-believers in your district on the issues that they care about?
I believe in the issues, and if you are a believer and you believe in a certain issue, and if you're not a believer and you believe in a certain issue, it doesn't change my opinion on it. If anything, my biggest issues are going to be I don't want someone's religion trying to seep into our laws. I don't like the idea of us having blue laws where you can't buy a 6-pack 10 a.m. on a Sunday before you go to barbecue because you have to be in church then. So when I talk about the issues, I'm not running because I'm trans. I'm not running because I was Republican. I'm not running because I believe or don't believe. I'm running on the issues.
When you look at the hiring freeze, right, we have the people that are not leaders, they're literally followers, right? So Trump does something stupid and the Texas Republican Congress follows suit, right? So they do a hiring freeze, even when they have openings, we need jobs and they can fill them, but they won't. And so this is creating a further financial system in Texas. We need to restore high-paying jobs. We need to entice businesses, companies, with high-paying jobs to invest in Texas. So we need to completely change the reputation. And I've gotten a lot of reports from elsewhere that having secular candidates in office is actually going to just that alone will already happen. And as I said, we will drag this district for the left because it can't go any further to the right. It's too far gone, right? And people are going to be dissatisfied. I believe in equality for all people, for women's rights, for human rights, for every demographic. And somebody asked me about being an atheist and how would that affect them. Nobody is a better defender of the First Amendment than an atheist, period. And if you notice, anybody that's been to Standing Rock has seen what they've done to the First Amendment, right? It's not just it's not just the prohibition clause and the establishment clause regarding religion. It's also freedom of press, right? And it's freedom of speech, and freedom to peaceably assemble. And we've seen what's happened with this. They want to pass laws to make it criminal to peaceably assemble. They're trying to undermine and criminalize every provision of the First Amendment.
Trump would criminalize the press.
So, while I am not a religious person, I have no religious beliefs, I will adamantly defend your right to believe what you want and to peaceably protest and to state your opinion, however.
So I want to give a little bit of background information on why I decided this project was a good idea and why I decided to essentially burn my savings to try to make it happen. I worked for Spectrum Experience LLC as a contractor for them in this last election cycle, and I've been working in politics in Arizona for the past 8 years. Arizona, as we all know, is a conservative state. It's a red state as far as the election turnouts go. As far as actual voter registration goes, it's kind of purple. But liberals don't vote, as it seems to be a common theme in states like ours, and we'll be changing that. Arizona ran 11 open atheists this last election cycle, which was more than any other state in the union. But 7 of them currently hold elected office. 2 of them in the legislative district 26. That's Juan Mendez, who I'm sure everyone here knows for his humanist invocation that he gave to the state legislature. They actually had a follow-up prayer and repentance for his humanist invocation. We also have Athena Salman, who is an open atheist who ran in legislative district 26 as well. Kyrsten Sinema, Congresswoman Kyrsten Sinema, is an open non-believer. Now, she distances herself from that, but she's also the only bi member of Congress. She is our one non-affiliated, our one religiously non-affiliated representative in Congress. One. So it's 1 out of 535 people, but we make up about, the non-affiliated make up about 20% of the population. So, kind of a disparity there. We have Ryan Winkle on the Mesa City Council, and we have atheists on several school boards throughout the state. And we're working on expanding that further. So if it can work in Arizona, it can work in Texas. Texas isn't all that different a state from Arizona. I mean, if you look at the voter registration comparison between the parties, it's about similar. The issue is partly voter turnout. Now, when we're asking what is it that makes Arizona different from a state like Texas or Tennessee or North Carolina, South Carolina, Mississippi, it's the fact that we've been doing this for 8 years. We are moving that over to New York. And in the districts that we can't win, meaning we're putting someone in that seat, what we can do is win by moving the Overton limit. We can win by pursuing cultural change and changing the electorate over time. So that a guy like Aron isn't that far-fetched in a district like the one he's running in. Where we can connect with people on values as opposed to an identity that was previously viewed as something that's not acceptable in politics. So that's what the project's trying to do. So for those of you who haven't signed up and joined the project as a volunteer or professional or whatever capacity you want to be in, I brought a computer with me. I'll move it over here so you can sign up. But we also all have these pieces of plastic, glass, and metal that allow us to be connected to people all over the world at any time of the day. Go ahead and pull out your phones. Go on.
Well, I don't have them.
Good. Those of you who have them, pull out your phones. All right, we all ready? go ahead and text the word atheist. Right? Oh, you've already done it? Oh, you need to, oh, you listen to opening arguments, okay. So text the word atheist to 24587. So this is getting you involved in our text message campaign. This is where you're going to get updates about upcoming events. This is where we're going to be announcing new candidates. This is where we're going to be announcing, based on your geography, where your phone number is located, when we need help. We've got a candidate event, or we're doing a phone banking, or whatever it may be. We're going to share with you how you can contribute and really help out a candidate. One of the great things about this project, one of the things that I'm really excited about, is the fact that it is a national project. So for candidates like Aron and Danny in Texas, we can connect them with folks who are in Tennessee or Arizona or Mississippi or Boston, Massachusetts, who are willing to make phone calls for them. We can connect them with people who are willing to write emails and press releases who don't even live in the state. So by sharing resources and combining our efforts, we can be successful in creating the cultural change we need to close that representation gap. So I'd like to thank everyone for coming, and let's just spend some time mingling and eating.
Question.
Yes.
What did she take her oath of office on?
The Constitution. She took her oath of office on the Constitution, which I think she did that. I probably would have been the Constitution anyway, but I think that's the only reason that GOP didn't get all uppity about her not taking her oath on the Bible.
I know this will probably come up maybe in the comments section. Why atheist candidates specifically? What about atheists? But you can go even bigger. What about non-believers? Makes people. Why should they support them as an identity?
Oh, why should that identity be supported?
Yeah.
So one thing that I'm pushing for is shared values. I focus on values a lot, and values it's deeply intertwined into the political language that I use. We have shared values as Americans, and one of those values is equity and representation of government. Like taxation without representation was the reason we had a revolution in the first place. So why should we expect fair and equitable representation from our government if we don't share any of the seats proportionately in that government? And it's not just us. I mean, we just happen to have one of the largest disparities. It's not just our group, but it's a number of groups, identity groups, who are deeply underrepresented. And if we don't pursue that, we are allowing an injustice to continue in how government purports to represent us.
What do you think an atheist candidate brings to the table that would benefit all of their voting population, their constituents? What is special about it?
So, as we know, being a non-believer doesn't make you rational necessarily, but our campaign is operating on some specific values, which we're working on the website in college. Those are going to be going up soon. But part of that includes is the values that we're pushing are fact-based politics, science-based education. A non-believer who has reasoned their way out of the faith that they were brought up with is someone who's generally going to be a little more contemplative and a little more fact-oriented because they've spent a significant portion of their life changing their identity. That's no small change. It's no small feat. There's a lot of emotion and a lot of often family-related trouble that comes with that. So you've got to be pretty sure of what reality is if you're going to make a decision. And I think that's one advantage going with candidates who are associated with this project, is that we are going to pursue fact-oriented policy.
Oh, I have one small. I asked you this question earlier when we talked. In your project, you have people that you contacted who are atheist candidates. How many are Democrats? How many are Republicans? How many are other?
That's a very good question. So I would like to avoid the question, but no. So we have one Republican. The rest are some folks wrote in Bernie Pratt as the answer for their party affiliation. But we had a lot of folks on the left, a handful of people who are independents, and then a single Republican who indicated that they wanted to run. But the project itself is nonpartisan, and I want to make sure I emphasize that, because as long as we share those fundamental values of equitable representation in government and fact-oriented politics, and we're pursuing science-based education, as long as we have these agreed-upon positions, I don't care what party you are, you're better off than the